Back live here at Pocono Raceway, our drivers are getting down onto the grid. We've pulled up our in-race reporter into the booth here, Ed Kathan. He will be up here just for a few moments to talk about what's going on in his mind coming over to this race. It's going to be an eventful race here at Pocono Raceway. Pocono's always exciting, always a lot of fun, and as we've talked about already in the pre-race show, it's definitely a driver's track. A lot of tracks, when you come to them in the Indycar, it's more of how well can you get out in front and mash that throttle down and deal with the aero push that you're going to get when you're behind other drivers. Here, while aero push is definitely a huge factor, and we'll get a chance to talk about that in just a moment, there's so many other factors that come into play here. Now, Ed, he's up in the booth now. How you feeling going into this race?
Oh, a little nervous.
It's the first one of the season, and it's the first season of, I do believe, 3 or 4 or more this year that the Triple Crown IndyCar Series will be putting on. So out here with a smaller field than even what the IndyCar Fixed would have, what is your strategy going into this event?
Just to get through that first fuel stop with no problems, and then work it out from there.
Very interesting fuel strategy will come into play here. It is randomly chosen by the administrator here, Michael Shore. Picks a random number, and today the fuel load that these guys will be able to carry at any given point will be 33% of what these Indy cars would normally be able to pull off here. So it's definitely going to be different for these drivers. Their runs will not be nearly as long. And actually, while we have the chance, how long do you think you'll be able to make it here on fuel? Still
about
there?
11 laps. It'll be interesting to take tires or not.
When you come down and take tires here, it really seems to slow down the pit stop just a little bit. Now, one of the biggest advantages about not being able to have the full amount of fuel is it's not going to slow down your pit stop. When you have to get a full tank of fuel here in these Indy cars, you can change tires in about 7 seconds in these Dalaras here, these DW12s. A very powerful car, by the way. We'll get a chance later on to talk about it. But here, when you've got to take 4 tires, you've got to take a full tank of fuel. You could be down on pit road for 16, 17 seconds. So with only 33% maximum in your fuel load there at any given time, you won't be able to really get it full. You won't have to sit down there for the full amount of time. So that's going to be exciting here. We'll move you back down to the race channel. Good luck here going to the start of this race, and have fun out there.
Alright, thanks guys.
And that was the voice of our second place starting driver here, Ed Kathan. Now guys, as the pace lap gets going on here and finishes up, the pace car lights are off. And what do you guys think we're going to see when we dive it down into turn number 1 at almost 200 miles an hour?
Well, turn 1 at Pocono is always quite an interesting experience. It's very fun going into there for the first time, but of course, it's all down to what everyone else does. It's a very harrowing at times. You go in there flat out, and you go in there flat out all the way through, but it's all about that raw nerve. As now we get ready, the pace car is off, the field is under the control of the pole sitter, and we are underway in the IndyCar Triple Crown Series at Pocono, and they are 3 wide and at the front of the pack going into turn 1. Wesley Wickens from the pole position is in the middle of it going into turn 1, and they're fanning out quite a bit. One car almost onto the grass as they exit turn number 1 and down the down the Long Pond straightaway. And we actually have had a change for the lead. Jason Ferries in the number 7 is out in front, followed by our in-race reporter Ed Kathan. Man, what a shakeup from the start of this race, as Wesley Wickens is now down to 3rd position at the end of lap 1 here. It is the number 7, Jason Ferries, out in front. Ed Kathan in 2nd, Wesley Wickens 3rd, Joey Young is in 4th and number 14. The 00 of Don Runkle is in 5th. Peter Ramberg Michael Hilliard, Vern Wagon, Michael Miller, and Wallace Green are your current top 10. After lap 1, as they head into turn 2, the battle is starting to go and be joined for second place. Wesley Wickens looking to get a couple of those spots back as he looks to the inside on Ed Kathan into turn number 3. Kathan running the high line. That's very much workable here in turn 3 at Pocono. You can definitely run the high line and actually make a pass legitimately, but Wickens gets back by him, and he is back up into second place, chasing down the leader, as now we definitely got things single file, and we're all looking smooth for the time being. We're at the start of lap number 3 at the Tricky Triangle.
Yeah, definitely, Steven. Very exciting couple laps here, very tense couple of laps, and one thing these drivers are going to be watching out for all night long, we didn't get a chance to talk about it all that much, is the aero push these cars will get when they're one behind each other. Diving down into turn 1 and 2, it's going to be especially prevalent, as well as turn 3 right here. You pull up on the back bumper of someone when you get within about 2 to 4 tenths. That is when it gets the most intense, and that front end just becomes, when you've got the downforce, it brings that front wing closer to the ground, and what that does is it keeps the air from getting up underneath the car, which is what creates the push effect. But when you get in the draft of another car, it actually allows the front end to come up off the ground just enough to make it so the front does not want to turn. Now, Dalton, I want to take a chance and ask you, you live where you get lots of snow. Have you ever had to drive out in the snow where the front of your car simply doesn't want to turn when you're trying to get down on the binders, trying to slow down for something?
Oh, yeah, all the time. You know, just recently there have been massive snowstorms where I am, and yeah, I was just driving up to school a few days ago, and the car I was driving in, just you turn the wheel and it just kept going straight, and that's just what these guys feel, except we were going about 20 miles an hour, these guys are going 220.
Yeah, that's definitely what I want to kind of equate it to. While there's no actual, you're not getting down on the brakes and there's no ABS locking up, that is the feeling you get. You know where you're turning the wheel, you know where you want it to go. However, the only thing that you see coming towards you is the outside wall.
Yeah, it's really a scary feeling. I personally oversteer being tight, understeer being tight is very challenging, and it's one of the most scary and difficult things to do as a deal with as a driver, because no matter what you do, there's a wall coming at you, and you might need a new pair of underpants after that.
You might need a new pair of underwear, and if you get into the wall with one of these Dallara DW12 Indy cars. Now, Steven, you run the IndyCar Fix series a little bit on iRacing. You might dab into the road side of it as well, and I know I have myself. When you're running in these cars, these things get beat up so easily. Luckily, it's a lot like a Formula 1 car. You get that front wing beat up, good news for you, you just pop a new one on. However, you can't really knock that suspension, you can't beat those side pods up, anything along those lines, and you're going to find yourself in trouble here. And now that we're 7 laps into this race, we're going to get a chance now look back up to the lead. Jason Ferries has over a second and a half over our second place driver Wesley Wickens, who started up in the front spot there to start this race off, the Triple Crown IndyCar Series race number 1. He started out in the front row there, got passed early on. Ed Kathan there's moved up after falling out of that second spot. He almost dropped down the 4th there, guys, and he had to work his way back around Joey Young in number 14, and now Joey's on his rear wing, and he's going to shove it down there going into this short corner here.
Yeah, he tries to make the move going into turn 2, but it looked like he backed out of it a little bit. And he doesn't get the pass made. He's still right up on Ed Kathan. Oh, and he gives him a touch into the grass. He saves it, though. He comes back on the track right in front of the 00 Don Winkle, and now he is on the grass, and he makes his way down towards pit road. So Joey Young with problems early on in this event. Oh, big issue in turn 1. Don Winkle into the wall. The 007 of Vern Wagner into the wall hard.
Oh,
contact.
man!
Huge hit. The 72 of Wallace Green involved. He is flipping over. Big wreck in turn 1 on lap number 9. Caution is out. First one of the night here at Pocono. Wow.
I think it's time to call up a replay. Let's go on board with Don Runkle and take a look in the gyro cam at what happened. You see a little bit of netcode there. He's pushing a car up into the wall. Netcode, netcode, netcode up on top of the wall. Here comes the gyro cam where it's going to make you sick. He comes down the track, gets absolutely demolished there. Look at the Indycar flipping all over. It's what we talked about earlier. These things flip like tops. Let's take another look at that accident up from the chopper and maybe break it down in some slow motion here and see what happens. You see Don Runkle off the pace. The Indycar coming up behind him's coming up to the wall. You see some contact there. It's what we said earlier. The contact points don't always match up so well in these things, and they continue getting up into the wall, and that's going to cause a problem on its own. Now he's up on top of the wall. They're inside of each other, which is only going to make it even more unstable dropping down. Then he comes down the track. We'll slow it down even more. Take a look, the green Dallara there. Not sure exactly who that is. If someone could confirm, he just demolishes Don Runkle there. And just when you might think it's over, some more cars coming into the mix, almost getting caught up in it. And that was just huge there, Dalton. Steven, definitely hard hit.
Yes, and to answer your question, that was the 72 of Wallace Green that that had a huge hit with the 007 of Vern Wagner. No, actually the 00 of Don Runkle when he came back down the track. But having a look at the initial contact going down the front stretch, the 007 bounced off the wall a little bit on the front stretch, clipped the 00, and they just keep riding up on the wall there. That is something I personally have rarely seen much, but it's definitely quite an interesting experience for these Indy cars. Of course, Indy cars are of course very sensitive to contact. Even if you have a little bit of damage on the side bod, you pretty much have lost quite a fair bit of pace. But that wreck just kept going and going and going into turn 1. That was a rather odd incident compared to the stuff I've seen in, for example, the IndyCar Oval Fix Series and the IndyCar Road Series that I've run a couple of seasons ago here on iRacing. But definitely a very odd situation. We've had quite a lot of drivers come onto pit road for their first stops, and actually we have a change for the lead as Ed Kathan beats out Jason Ferries off of pit road. And so Kathan out to the lead. Ferries second. Wesley Wickens is holding on to third. The 12 of Peter Remberg has moved up into fourth on that cycle of pit stops. Then it's the 61 of Michael Hilliard. And then the 20... and then the 07 of Michael Shore, the admin for this league, has moved up another position. So things have definitely changed quite a bit on this first cycle of stops. We're at lap 11 of this race.
Now that
it looks like as of right now, it looks like we have a car that actually stayed out. That is the number 14 of Joey Young. He looks like he's on the lead lap, and I'm not sure if he's out there just to lead a lap or if he wants to pull some strategy. We'll have to see this next time by.
Well, I think Joey Young, he's had quite an interesting situation. Of course, if earlier in turn 3, just before the yellow flag came out, he made contact with another car, and he ended up sliding the car. He saved it. Quite an amazing bit of driving from him, and he was able to get it onto pit road. And he, I assumed that because of that, as now he comes into the pits, I would have assumed that when he came in, he would have came in for 4 tires, maybe 4 tires, but also the top off on fuel, and he may have had a little bit of fortune going his hand. But now he comes on to pit road. Either I'm mistaken, or maybe he just didn't take the advantage of an opportunity that was given to him. But the pace car lights are still on. It is the 884, our in-race reporter Ed Kathan, who is in the lead. Jason Ferries is in second place. Wesley Wickens is now third. Peter Remberg in fourth place. Michael Hilliard fifth. Michael Shore in the 07 is sixth. Robert Obroda The number 22 car is in 7th. Philip Bundick is in 8th. Thomas Engel, I should say, 9th. And Mike Miller in the 77 rounds out the top 10, lap number 12.
Now that we've got a quick chance here, Checkered Flag Interactive would like to thank you guys all for tuning in live here on a Saturday night for some more IndyCar racing. Tomorrow night we've got the Rose IndyCar. Tomorrow afternoon, actually, 2 p.m. We go from, we were racing last week at Road America. Now we go to Sebring and the DW12 there for the Rose IndyCar Series. Big event. Steve Bonesteel, Evan Pasocco, as always, up in the booth. So tune in live on CFI tomorrow for that. But really quick, we're going to head over to a quick commercial break. Do not go away. We will be back for the restart here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. We're back here live at Pocono Raceway after some commercial break jokes there, talking about a little about my embarrassing last name, Bonesteel. Just imagine the middle school jokes that came on that one. We talked about Dalton's English skills. Sometimes he doesn't even English, bro. But here we are, turn 3 of Pocono. The pace car lights are off. Who's ready to go back to green flag racing here? Lap 14 coming up on the boards here. We've got quite a few more laps to go. Green flags in the air, and the pace car's pulling down. We are racing once again.
Yeah, and 3 wide towards the back of the pack there. The number 14 of Joey Young makes a dynamite restart as he gains a lot of spots before they even get to turn 1. We're on lap number 14 of 80 here at Pocono, and things have definitely straightened up a little bit. Jason Ferries in the 7 makes a bid for the lead. The 884 of Ed Kathan has it, and Ferries wants it. He led the opening laps of this event into the tunnel turn number 2. Kathan trying to hold back Ferries. Ferries has the edge. Going into turn number 3, he will clear him as they go through the middle of turn number 3.
On board now with Ed Kathan down the front stretch. Look at the drag race, guys. He's going to go to the outside here. He's going to have no draft effect on the front of that nose, which will be good here. That's what you've got to do in the IndyCar. He's going to pull down on the exit. Look at that, diving down to the inside as we go up in the CFI chopper.
Great cutback move from Ed Kathan. He's on the inside as they head up to turn 2. And it looks like he will clear him. Ferries actually runs very high there. And now look at this. The 51 of Wesley Wickens now comes back towards the front as the caution flag is out.
Contact at the front also. Looks like the caution is out for the number 5 of Bill Perez there. As we pull up the replay on your screen now live, taking a look, coming through turns 1 and 2. Bill is towards the rear of the field here, and he's trying to make his move, and it looks like a little bit of net code on his car, weaving back and forth into straightaways there. He gets himself stuck in the middle there. Definitely a lot of net code. We'll take a look up from the CFI chopper, and you'll get a better look at what happened there.
Yes, having a look at that, and like you said, netcode was very much a part of that incident there. It was between the number 5 of Bill Perez and the number 00 of Don Runkle, who has already had some dramas early on in this event. Just a netcode spin there, gathers the car up there, doesn't make any other contact with any other cars, but it does bring out a yellow flag, the second one of the night.
Yeah, no harm, no foul.
It looks as if the way that netcode worked, it almost looked like the front wing of I don't know who that is behind him, Don Runkle. It almost looks like they cut that tire down the way he spun that around that quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of saw that too, that effect where he hit that tire. And here in these Indy cars, these things are very fast machines, and these cars are not very light. When I get the second here in just a moment, we'll talk a little bit about the Rose Indy car, or not, excuse me, the Dallara Indy car. These things are incredible. Here is our leaders actually going to be going down pit road.
Yes, Ed Kathan in the 884 is going to be coming on the pit road, as well as the 61. Michael Hilliard is coming in, and a lot of drivers towards the rear of the pack are also going to be coming in. Philip Bundick is in. Thomas Engel. Thomas Engel is on pit road. Actually, a few drivers trying to get their laps back have stayed out. So it seems like a pretty split decision to come on the pit road between a lot of these drivers, as Ed Kathan is the first of the takers to come out of the pits quite handily over everyone else. As other
it looks like we had a few cars stay out. We've got Wesley Wickens in the number 51. He's got the top spot right now. And then followed by Jason Ferries. I believe he stayed out as well.
Just
of course, go ahead, Steve.
Sorry about that. Now that I finally got a chance to talk about it, the Dallara DW12 IndyCar here, these things weigh approximately 1,600 pounds with an 18.5 gallon fuel cell. That would be 70 liters there. They've got a double A-arm pushrod anti-roll bar suspension here to keep that car from rolling in the corners. Now, something we were experimenting with earlier in the GT3 car, we had a little bit of problem with body roll. Here in these Indy cars, the tight suspensions they have, that is not the problem. They've got a semi-automatic sequential 6-speed transmission, carbon fiber brakes with monoblock aluminum calipers here. These things can slow down from 200 to 0 in approximately, I'd say, 3 to 5 seconds at maybe a little bit more at the most. And these things crank out almost 700 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque out of a 2.2 liter turbocharged V6. Now, my Chevy Cobalt SS has a 2.2 liter turbocharged V4, and I don't come out with anywhere near 700 horsepower. So that just attests to how amazing these machines are.
Yeah, these aren't your everyday drivers, Steve.
No, absolutely not. And these cars are producing around 12,000 RPM at the top of their rev range. These cars are definitely very fast. The speeds these things have been achieving, not just here at Pocono, where we've been seeing speeds well above 215 miles an hour average around the whole lap here at Pocono, well in the range of 230 miles an hour down the straightaways. And at tracks like Indianapolis, they could be even faster than that, and well in the range of around 235 miles an hour. So these cars, they are definitely quite a stretch from something that that an everyday driver would be used to. And but believe it or not, these cars are definitely easier to drive than one might expect, especially on an oval track. This car has quite a lot of downforce to it with the front and rear wing assemblies, as well as the way the side pods and the the carbon fiber monocoque of the car is designed, this car has got quite a lot of downforce, so therefore it grips the track extremely well. Your drivers are producing upwards of 3 to 4, maybe even 5 Gs in the corners. That's just how much lateral grip these cars have. So it's a very physical experience for the drivers in the real world, but in terms of handling, these cars are actually easier to drive than one might expect. For example, compare it to a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series car. A Sprint Cup car, of course, weighs a lot heavier. It has more power, and the suspension and the bodywork are nowhere near as advanced and as aerodynamically fitting as they are on an Indycar. It's a whole different ball game. They each have their own minute, their own differences in terms of the way they race. Either one, and it makes IndyCar racing very exciting to watch, especially with the rather high speeds that these cars are capable of achieving, especially here at Pocono. And speaking of high speeds, we're going to be getting them pretty soon, as the lights on the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car have gone out, and that means we're only one lap away from having these guys go back to green flag racing.
And these drivers definitely ready for that here. Pocono Raceway here. Race number 1 for the Triple Crown IndyCar Series. We've got multiple seasons coming up for you here. A 3-race season to get things kicked off. While we're still talking a little bit about these cars, I mean, I've seen a few IndyCars in person. I've taken a look at what's underneath and inside the bodies, basically, and it's so incredible. I hop in the shop at where I work, and I work on a car and maybe install an alternator, something very basic like that. Well, if I wanted to do that here to an Indy car, oh boy, I actually don't even know if these things have alternators. I have to assume that they do, but these things are completely different beast. If you looked at a NASCAR engine, if you were trained in, just general engines, taking automotive program, you'd have an idea what you're looking at. But these things, while you'd have an idea what you're looking at, you'd never be able to put them completely back together and take them apart like you would a normal engine. These things are just completely different beast with the amount of technology that comes into these things nowadays. But here, coming out of turns 3 and 4, these guys ready to hit the green flag once again. Wesley Wickens in the number 51 currently out in front. Jason Ferries in the number 7 on the outside. The pace car will be diving down. The first Ford Mustang pace car there with about 300 horsepower in comparison to these Indy cars, so that pace car is going to get up out of the way, so it has no problems there. Nobody will be hitting the pace car here. The green flag is up in the air. We are racing.
Yeah, it looks like our leader Wesley Wickens got a great jump. He's going to take the advantage into turn 1, and it's turn 1, isn't it? It's just one turn, and he's going to have the advantage, followed closely. Sorry, knocked the button off. Closely behind by the 12, Peter Ramberg, and then the number 7, Jason Ferries, and it looks like they may have made contact there as they're four-way battle for the lead.
Yes, here comes the 14, Joey Young, who of course had some problems earlier on in this event. He's looking like he's got a lot of speed coming up to the front. He goes around the outside of the number 12 of Peter Remberg, and it looks like now he'll be challenging the 51 of Wesley Wickens for the lead of this race. He has a look to the outside in turn 1 there, but will he set something up on the exit of the corner? Let's see if he can get something. The draft is, of course, very big down here on the as they come down the Long Pond straightaway into turn number 2. Wickens defends the middle line to the line. Young having to do the hard work, trying to have a look on the outside there. He'll stay on the outside there for turn 3, as it seems. But meanwhile, behind them, Peter Remberg is now having to hold off Jason Ferries, as I do hear a bit of contact a bit deeper in the field, as now we have a car up towards the wall. Oh, and a big problem. Big problem. Trying to find out who that was.
That will be the 007 there of Vern Wygant there in the back, hard into the wall there. We'll pull up the replay there. Not exactly sure what happened, but that car definitely hit that outside retaining safer barrier with a lot of force. As the replay is up on your screen, you can see that he just came up on the back wing of the blue car in front of him and The slightest contact is going to upset these cars. These aren't NASCARs. These aren't anything you can make much contact with. As soon as you make contact with the light relative weight of these cars, even with all the downforce that these things have, they can never save you from going around when you make contact like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was the number 6 of Thomas Engel that the 007 of Vern Wagner came into contact with. And like you said, these cars they may have a lot of downforce, but they can't take a hit. These cars are not built for hitting, they're meant for going fast. And even the slightest touch will upset the car quite a lot, and it'll take quite a bit of driving skill to keep it under control. Unfortunately, Vern Wagner couldn't save it. But so that's brought out our third yellow flag of this race. It's Wesley Wickens who maintains the lead in the number 51. The number 14 of Joey Young sits second. Jason Ferry's third. Peter Remberg fourth. And Michael Shore rounds out the top 5.
Yeah, like both Steves were saying, actually. Once these cars, you make contact and you reach that point where you just don't have enough talent to save it, you're gonna spin around, and you're gonna spin around fast. I've been in there have been situations, for me at least. I know a few weeks ago at Iowa, there were multiple occasions where I made contact, and I spun 360 3 or 4 times before I reached that outside barrier. It's a lot of downforce going forward, but backwards, there's none.
Definitely
Yes,
there,
indeed.
Dalton, for sure. When you've got these things rolling backwards, the only place you're going is either into the wall or up into the air, something along the lines of that right there. Now, under our third caution, as the guys up in the booth have been saying, you are watching the Triple Crown IndyCar Series live on Chicken Flag Interactive. Steve Bonesteel, Dalton Alexander, and Steven Larkamp up in the booth. We're going to head over to a quick break here, and we're going to let you guys take a look at what the new iRacing laser scanner is all about really quick here. Do not go away. More racing from Pocono Raceway will be here live on CFI.
We recently acquired a brand new laser scanner from Leica. It's called the C10. It allows us to speed up our production time in the field of laser scanning tracks, and it pretty much almost cuts our time in half when we're on the road for scanning.
This new scanner is based on the same basic technology as our old scanner, but it's a lot faster. The old scanner used to only scan in one direction, so it had to do an entire 360-degree sweep, whereas this new scanner, the laser is on a drum that spins incredibly fast, and as it's spinning, the laser is reaching both sides of the scanner's head, so it only needs to rotate 180 degrees. So not only is it faster for each line, but it only has to travel half as much.
Our first project out with the scanner is going to be coming up this week, where we're going to be tackling the new NASCAR trucks, the Toyota Tundra and the Chevy Silverado. Due to the size of the new scanner, it's a little bit smaller than the old one. When doing a car or truck scan, we're able to place the piece of equipment inside the cockpit, so we're able to scan the interior of the vehicle, which with our older piece of equipment we weren't able to do due to its size.
One of the things that we're able to do with the scanner is we're able to scan with basically the points colored by intensity or the reflective properties of the material, but we're also able to take a photograph of the surrounding scene and overlay that photograph on top of the points and have those points colorized by the photograph. So we're able to see the scene in different ways for different applications.
Yeah, it'll be nice to try out a new piece of equipment in the field, especially with the time. The other one it took a while to do a scan. A typical car scan would take up to 6 hours, so we're shooting for right around 3 or 4 hours to do the scan and to try out the new interior scans, which we've never been able to try before.
This added speed is going to allow our guys to get back here sooner, and as a result they'll be working on the content more in the office, and the end result for the customer is that we're able to do more.
Back here live at the racetrack, we are ready for the green flag to be dropped. This time the pace car lights are off. These guys doubled back up in their very fragile DW12s. We had a moment to talk about them here. Now, we mentioned earlier about the fuel load. These guys can carry over 18 gallons normally. Here today, 33% of that fuel load can be used. So at any given time, these guys will not be carrying 33%, any more than 33% of that maximum amount. That will make these guys need to pit quite often here. These Delaras are not that hard on tires, and definitely only running 33% of a normal run will make it so these guys might not need tires every single stop. Tires do not take very long to change here in the Delaras since they do all four at once, but the pace car is off. Green flag is up in the air. We are racing once again for the Triple Crown IndyCar Series race number 1 at Pocono.
And once again, Wesley Wickens makes a great launch on that restart going into turn 1. He'll lead the way with the 14 of Joey Young in tow. Then the number 7 of Jason Ferry slots into third. He, of course, led very early on in this event. And it looks like he's going to try and get back up to that position once more as he has a look to the inside of the 14 into turn number 2. It doesn't look like he'll get alongside him. No, he doesn't. They remain as they were going into turn number 3. Wesley Wickens still holding them off of the lead, but Joey Young is looking antsy. He's looking like he's going to try and make something happen. He's got the toe into turn 1. He looks to the outside as Wickens defends the inside. Does he get the move? He's right there on the outside. It looks like he's going to try and make it work. Pushes it way up high there. Almost clips the wall and almost 3 wide as they come off of turn number 2. But Young is still putting the effort in. Wickens is really defending hard on the low line. But Young takes it round the outside and he goes to the front. Jason Ferries is looking like he's going to try and follow with him into second place. And he does so. We have a new leader and is the 14 of Joey Young. A great move around the outside for the driver of that number 14 machine.
Our in-race reporter, Ed Kathan there in the fourth position, excuse me, now trying to defend against Michael Shore. He's worked his way up from just outside that top 10 on this restart. So the 884 there, moving up towards the top 4 there. He's got the draft going down this straightaway, going down to the tunnel turn. He's going to have the run going down the short straightaway, going into the third corner here at Pocono. Dalton, looking at the way Ed's made his way through the field, do you think he might just be one of the faster drivers of the night?
He might well be. However, there's one thing you guys should consider. Kathan was the first of the drivers that came in on the last pit stop cycle. A lot of drivers stayed out the last time we had drivers come on the pit road. We haven't had any on this last caution. But on the caution before that, Kathan was the lead driver to come on the pit road, whereas a lot of the other leaders stayed out. So he's playing a different fuel strategy than a lot of other guys, and he might well be playing a different tire strategy than other guys. So that may well be a reason why he's marching his way back to the front, as now Jason Ferries is slowing down. We have a problem. It looks as though we have a bit of an issue for Jason Ferries. He's off the pace considerably. He might be out of fuel.
Dalton,
yeah,
what's it look?
That is very possible. They are only having, 33% of 17 gallons is just about roughly 5 gallons. I'm not sure how good fuel mileage they get, but 5 gallons, 2.5 mile track, that can't be good. It's very possible that they could also be playing some fuel strategy. It's a lap 30 of 80. They could have thought about this way harder than I would have.
Yeah,
yes,
they might have.
And now the former leader of the race, Joey Young, is on pit road. He led the race, and now he's on pit road for his stop, as other cars are also coming in. So it's Ed Kathan who cycles to the lead. Michael Hilliard in the 61 moves into second. Peter Remberg in the 12 is in third. Thomas Engel fourth, and Leandro Matos is in fifth. But quite a shakeup here at Pocono as the fuel strategy is starting to come into play. We might well get a long green flag run here, so this could be a deciding factor about who wins this race. And the yellow flag is out. We have a car stopped on the bottom on the back straightaway. He's cleared it. So trying to figure out who that was. but someone, I'm assuming, ran out of fuel.
I believe it was the 07 of Michael Shore. I don't know if he ran out of fuel. He was coming off a pit road and got through turn 1 all right, and just not sure what was going on there.
Well, that is very strange.
We will pull up the replay there on your screen. You see the 07 Michael Shore now coming off of pit road. Here, lap 31, this is going on. That car does not look fully up to speed as he goes by. It's not revving up, nothing like that. It seems very off the pace there, going through 1 and 2. You see someone go on the outside, and he is just like a rock sitting still down on the inside, getting checked up. Not exactly sure what happened to him there. We might get a chance to talk with either him or one of our in-race reporters here in a moment. But very interesting chain of events there for Michael Shore. He'd worked his way up to the top 5 before that caution flew, guys, and that's pretty tough.
Yeah. That is very strange that happened. One theory I was thinking, perhaps when he came in for his stop, he might have accidentally deselected the fuel. I don't know what his button setup was for all the for the quick commands, but that could well be something that happened. He just didn't fill the car up, and maybe he was just coasting it around slowly to try and get it back to the pits, using as little fuel as he possibly can, maybe using the starter motor. But I guess he didn't realize he didn't have much of a chance. That's just the theory I have. Of course, I don't exactly know what happened to him, but could well be something that happened. But that is very strange indeed.
Yeah, we can speculate all day, but yeah, none of us, neither of the three of us have. We really don't know what happened there. We'll have to get him or one of the other drivers into the booth, and maybe they know what happened.
Very unfortunate for him there. He's going to be down on pit road, getting a tow there, and a tow from where he was on track will take him about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So unfortunately, he will be pretty far down, and he will have to make up a lot of time here, but we're only 33 laps into this 80-lap event, so there's plenty of time. From there on out, he'll just be clawing his way up to the front. Luckily for him, he's not like one of the drivers that got involved in a big wreck. He has no damage to that 07, so he is good to go on that standpoint. While we talked earlier about the 24-hour event, driver swaps are going to be implemented. We're going to head over really quick here, and now we'll let you take a moment and learn a little bit about the iRacing driver swaps for those of you that are not familiar with it. Do not go away. Checkered Flag Interactive's coverage here at Pocono. We'll be right back. We are back live here on board with the 4th place driver, our in-race reporter, Ed Kathan. Looking pretty strong out there right now. You moved your way up through the field pretty quickly there on that last run. Do you know what the situation was when those cars ended up running? It looked like they ran out of fuel. Is that what happened?
Ed, you got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4, that's exactly what happened. I was pushing the wrong button, sorry. When the first guys pitted, that took a lot more to the pit, and then a couple guys I think overshot their pits.
So with that car out there, you guys all on the same setup, so fixed setup series here. It looks like you're coming down pit road this time. How is the fuel strategy adding up, assuming we went green flag from this point? How many pit stops do you plan on needing to make?
I would say 4.
That's a lot of pit stops for sure. What I would think one of the biggest strategies here is going to be keeping your way up to the front and pitting with the leaders.
Yes and no. Right now I'm kind of out of sequence with everybody else. I got like 2-3 more laps than they do. At least that's my calculations.
Well, here as we're coming up to halfway, when we get the green flag, halfway is going to be coming up pretty quickly. As this race has progressed, how do you think it's affected your expectations? What did you think going in, and what is it like now as we're getting the green flag here?
It's good. Got a good turnout, I think. Driving's been clean and friendly. That was a hairy restart.
Well, we will let you get back down to the action here. Do not worry about it. Good luck here on this restart.
10-4, thanks again, guys.
Yeah, while we were talking in that, talking to our in-race reporter, it was pretty dicey in the back, eh? And it looks as if our buddy in the Joey Young, he was making moves, passing a few cars even before he crosses the finish line, going 3 wide, making a dip below, and he's on the move. It looks like we have a few cars, a few lead lap cars that may have pit, and they're stuck behind some slower cars right now as Joey Young continues to try to make moves.
As the action resumes here at Pocono, as you mentioned, the number 14 of Joey Young, he was well down in the field on this last restart. Now he's moved all the way up to 6th place as he now tries to put a move on the 22 of Robert Obora for 5th. He has a look to the outside. It's Wesley Wickens who leads. Peter Ramberg is up to 2nd with Michael Hilliard 3rd. But Young, of course, was one of the fast guys early on, and he definitely looks fast now as he makes a double pass around the outside in turn number 1. He appears to still be yes, he is still side by side there with the 76 car, but he's trying to keep the move. Yes, he does, and he's still right there with them as they go into turn 3. Of course, turn 3 is a bit easier to make an outside pass. As he sets up the launch, he'll try and make a move in the turn 1. He looks to the outside of the 76 of Leandro Matos as they head down into turn number 1. He has a nose on him going into 1. Still with him there. And he makes the move stick around the outside. That's quite a gutsy move there, but it does seem as though it's something that can well work here tonight.
Our in-race reporter, Ed Kathan, excuse me, so many times I've said it just like that. Ed Kathan's been moving up through the field there in the 884 car, and it looks like he's still looking sporty, using that drafting effect to the best advantage that he can. Definitely handling it a lot better than some drivers, but Wesley Wickens has moved up to a huge gap over our 2nd place driver. He's got over 3 seconds to that second place driver.
Yes, he has. And one guy that's actually and another guy that's actually on the move is our in-race reporter, Ed Kathan. He was towards the back of the field on this restart when we got a hold of him, and when we let him go, he was battling his way, trying to get back up through the pack. But now he's back up into 6th place, and basically him and Joey Young seem to be the movers and shakers so far as we get to the halfway point. Lap number 40 here at Pocono comes to a close. 40 more to be run tonight.
Yeah, and looks like our leader, Peter... No, he's not our leader. I apologize. He's a lap car. Our leader, Wesley Wickens, has jumped out to a pretty sizable lead over Michael Hilliard, the second place car. And the third is Leandro Matos, who ended up making a move around Joey Young again, who is sitting in 4th right now. And then Jason Ferries and Wallace Green are battling it out for the 4th position there.
I believe Jason Ferries and Wallace Green are actually a lap down to the leaders. They happen to be stuck in there from previous dramas that they have. I believe Ferries actually came on the pit road and got the short end of the stick on the pit stop cycle. He was one of the fast guys early on. He qualified up front. He led laps early on in this event, but somehow he finds himself in 11th place, battling against 12th place Wallace Green in the 72, who of course had that huge incident early on in this race that brought out the first caution of tonight's event. But now it's Michael Hilliard who takes over the lead as Wesley Wickens in the 51 came down on the pit road and he cycles back out. So it's Hilliard now in the lead. Leandro S. Matos sits in 2nd. Joey Young now in 3rd. But now he's got the lap car of Wallace Green in front of him. That could well be an inconvenience to him. I think he wants him out of the way so he can race a bit more openly with other drivers on his lap. But it's Hilliard, Matos, Young, Philip Bundick. Ed Kathan is 4th. Philip Bundick in 5th. Thomas Engel, Mike Miller, Robert Aborda, Wesley Wickens down in 9th after coming out of the pits. And Peter Remberg rounds out the top 10, and they are the 10 cars that are on the lead lap. Lap number 43 of 80 here at Pocono Raceway, as now the 7 of Jason Ferries actually comes on the pit road now.
As you said, we are 44 laps into this race now. These drivers heading through here, starting to make some of their strategy calls as they come to that point where, with only 33% of that fuel load in there, they definitely have to make some of their calls, make their strategy calls now when they can. You don't want to pit alone here. But right now, looking up towards the front, Michael Hilliard there, he had a nice 3-second gap over the second place driver. Leandro, however, once he got clear of some of the lap down traffic that was hanging up there in front of him, he's been able to navigate around, and now he's running faster laps here as our leader dives it down pit road. Leandro will get the lead to lead at least one lap here, completing lap number 44. And now we are on 45 as more of these drivers start to dive their way down on pit road. Thomas Engel there in the number 6 car on pit road. That blue number 6 getting things wound down. Looks like he had a tough entry if he's running all the way down in the pit box. He needs to be careful doing that. In some of this series, you will get a black flag for doing that. So here, as the field starts to cycle through pit road again, Dalton, looking at these guys running the laps after they went down pit road, do you think these guys that went down pit road are wasting their time battling it out? Like right now, I'm looking at the number 14, Joey Young. He is out there on track, and he was battling pretty hard there after coming off pit road. And he needs to focus on catching up to the leaders, which he's actually going to end up doing here, as Michael Hilliard, who was the leader, is going to be right there in front of him.
Yeah, it looks as if they might be wasting their time, but as a driver, it's very hard, especially when you're not a professional driver doing this for a living. It's very hard to just sit behind someone slower than you. So it may be a waste of time. It may also be a strategy move that we're not thinking of, but it is leading to some very aggressive and very good racing. Our friend Joey Young is a very good, what's the word? I'm bad English today. He's very describing of what we're talking about, making a lot of bold moves, especially on restarts.
Yes, he has definitely shown them his ability.
Number
to make
14 in the wall.
As you mentioned, Joey Young actually clipped the wall, and now he's back on pit road. And as he did, the leader, Ed Kathan, actually came in for his stop. But Joey Young, he's got considerable damage on the right side of that car. I believe he may have clipped the wall as he comes down into his pit stall. And having a look at what happened, yes, as I just had a look at it, he clipped the wall right at the exit of turn number 3. That is a very easy place to run out wide, get a bit of understeer on the car, especially when you have a car in front of you and it's taking the front arrow off the car, and he just got into the wall. He's back out running, and in this race, the officials have given one quick repair to the drivers, so you basically will get all that damage fixed right away just one time, and Joey Young, it appears he has taken that, and he is back out and trying to get back up to speed, but that stop was very costly.
Yes, it was. He got into the wall, and luckily he still had that fast repair left. I do not believe he is still on the lead lap, so another caution, and he'll be right back up there.
These cars...
I do not believe that these Indy cars have lucky dogs. I may be incorrect on that.
They do not run lucky dogs here, Dalton, unless this league is especially doing it. I do believe we talked to Michael Shore, the league administrator, briefly before the race. He didn't know too much about some of the custom things that they can do here, so it really wasn't on the agenda to do that. That's something they might look into.
14 is in the wall again. Sorry to cut you off, Steve, but he might be a little pushing it too hard.
Yeah, that number 14, now that he's got that damage to the suspension, it's not going to drive very well. It's just going to be pretty beat up. So it's going to be very tough for him to get that number 14 back up to speed. He's not going to be competitive as he was earlier on in the race. You see him right now having a hard time keeping it down to the bottom of the track. So that number 14, that Marlboro DW12 going around this circuit, all in his lonesome there. The leader in the backdrop there. He will be going a lap down within a matter of time here at Pocono Raceway. Especially with no lucky dog, you are not going to be very happy. And now taking a look, the number 23 and the number 6, Philip Bundick there along with Thomas Engel. These two cars are really the only two cars on track anywhere close to each other. These guys relatively close right now. Bundick will get the draft down the front straight away here, so he will be able to start to pull up on that competitor in front of him, maybe make a move to get that 6th place away from Bundick there, getting the run down the straightaway, trying to drive it hard into the corner. Bundick will try to get down there. He's going to have to watch that nose getting light here, driving that car so hard in the corner. As he comes closer, the front end's going to get light like we talked about earlier, but that does not look to be the case. That blue Thrustmaster Delara will continue to pull up here as we go through the tunnel turn here at Pocono Raceway. Things are starting to really spread out here. Michael Hilliard moving up into the front now as Wesley Wickens down on pit road again.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many laps they get on these fuel runs, but it looks like they may not be getting a lot. I would have expected more, but it looks like they're running 10 laps and there's cars on pit road.
Yes, I think from what I was hearing, from what the drivers were saying in the practice session they had before this event, that they were able to get about 12, maybe 13 laps if they really stretched it on fuel. Of course, if you had the tanks up to full with 18.5 gallons of E85 in these cars, you were able to get, at this track, somewhere around 33 up to 35 laps. So that seems to be right in the ballpark about what you're able to get on only a third of the regular amount of E85 that you'd have in the car that they have in this session and in this race. So the pit stops are coming at us fast. There's quite a lot of them to be made here. We've already had quite a few, and the pit stops are definitely where this race is going to be won or lost between these drivers.
Making a lot of pit stops here, it's going to be one of those situations where every time you come down pit road, that's going to give you another chance to make a mistake, and that's either where you're going to strut your stuff and you're going to shine, or you're going to make a mistake, you're going to speed, you're going to smash into a wall. These Indy cars are not that hard to get off down to a normal speed. However, if you're one of those drivers that decides to not take tires, getting back up to speed off of pit road is going to be a challenge here as you go up through the gears.
Yes, but one thing that I have noticed, especially from the experiences I've had with this Dallara DW12 IndyCar within iRacing, is that the tires work for as long as the fuel mileage would normally. So if you have, for example, a 35 lap run on a full tank, you'd be able to, the tires would last and have a good amount of grip in them for as long as that would last. However, one time, for example, when I did a hosted race with the IndyCar at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I actually tried double stinting tires using the same set of Firestone Firehawk tires for 2 whole stints. That was around 60 laps, and the car was becoming quite a handful to drive at the end of the race. So over a long run, yeah, and if you're going to put tires, if you're just going to run one set of tires for the whole race, that might not be the best thing to do. However, with the fuel mileage that they have now, you could reasonably double, maybe even triple stint these Firestone tires, and you'd still have a good amount of grip all throughout the race.
Yeah, with the amount of downforce they put on these cars, and as you mentioned earlier, with the lateral G's that are just 4 or 5 lateral G's, I mean, that really hurts the tire. It's not, I mean, it's made out of rubber, it's not made out of diamond, and I mean, thankfully, because if it was made out of diamond, there'd be a lot of black marks on that wall.
Unless you're in Minecraft, of course.
That is very valid.
But in any case, as the pit stops and the racing action continues to go down here at the Tricky Triangle, our in-race reporter, the 844 of Ed Kathan, puts himself out in front, and quite handily at the moment. That number 844 Dallara Honda puts himself out in the Bali Activity Special, is out to an 11.5 second lead over the 76 of Leandro Matos, who actually, as we speak, just came down onto pit road for another stop. The number 76 from the Brazilian comes off of pit road. As the timing board shows at the moment, it's Kathan and Matos 1 and 2. Then Philip Bundick, who is on pit road, is in 3rd. Wesley Wickens in the 51 is in 4th. Michael Hilliard 5th. However, that may well change at this point, as Ed Kathan, the leader, is on pit road on lap number 58.
Yeah, the one beautiful thing about these this fuel run, 33% of the fuel, 33% of the fuel is, there's a lot of fuel strategy going on right now. I mean, every lap there are cars on pit road, and it's going to get real interesting at the end to see who runs out of gas, who's got gas to finish, and who's going to be the fastest. It may not be the fastest driver that wins this race. It may be the guy that not even get lucky, the guy that planned it out, the guy that knows what he's doing, or maybe they might get lucky. I know if I was driving, I would definitely have to get lucky, because I think too much, and I probably would try too hard, but I'm sure there's some of these guys that know what they're doing, and it might pay off for them.
Yeah, one of the things I know I always run into as a car owner here on iRacing, you have to say that with a light head there. You can't really own any of these cars, they're licensed to us, but I run my team, and you know, I've done everything from Daytona racing to Indy cars to V8 supercars to everything in between. If there's something on iRacing, I've pretty much done it. I've ran a team on it. Now, I myself coming into this. Some of these drivers, I looked at it pre-race, some of these guys have spotters, they have crew chief, stuff like that. And of course you have to predict they've got teammates out here. Some of them do. Actually, this entire series basically based around a team of drivers. And they come out here, they're working together, some of them making the calls for others possibly, trying to come up with a good strategy for each other. But the thing is, when you're running a team and you're trying to come up with the strategies, it's all up to you to make sure that you're right on the ball, because if you make a slight mistake, you could end up being one lap off. I do know earlier this week I was spotting for one of my drivers in one of the GT3 races, and I put him in a setup that was, it was perfect, until the final lap where I didn't have enough fuel in it. I did not account for the extra lap that was going to be run, and that was my mistake. Now, some of these drivers out here, they have their spotters, they have their crew chiefs. When they've got to come down on pit road all that often, that's something they're going to run into. Mistakes will be made, whether it's driver error, team error, or something in between.
Yes, if one thing goes even slightly awry, it could be an innocent mistake or whatever it may be. It could ultimately cost you a win. In fact, I have some memories of it spotting for a teammate of mine, and my other teammate was crew chiefing for him in the NASCAR iRacing series at Richmond International Raceway. A mistake on my part in terms of the fuel actually cost him a win in the race. He had the car to beat all night, but then mishap with the fuel on one of the pit stops closer to the end of the event cost him the win. And it just goes to show the kind of a fine line you're running here. You can never really be too careful with these races. However, you have to have some level of aggression, not just in terms of the way you drive, but in terms of your strategy to not only get to the finish, but get to the finish out in front of the field.
Yeah, like you're saying, there's a bunch of strategy you could be doing. Sometimes you just got to get in the car and drive. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. And it might pay off for them, it may not. We're going to have to just see what's going on. It looks like the leader pulls off to pit road. Michael Hilliard again.
Yep, the leader's down on pit road now. Kathan, Jesus, guys, I've said that every single time wrong, I do believe, ever since the drop of the green flag. Either way, Ed, our in-race reporter, is now back up in front. He's going to be coming down for a pit stop here very soon, probably, if not this lap, for sure the next time by. Now here, this should be the second to last pit stop. These guys were hoping to make it on one more stop after that last caution flag. That will not be the case. Nobody from this point on. You will have to pit after lap 78 if you want, or excuse me, 68 if you want to make it to the end, and most of these guys will not be able to make it that far as is right now. So Kathan, excuse me again, guys, he's now back up in the lead. Leandro is up in second there. Robert Orbothada is up in third. Joey Young with that damage number 14 is up into fourth. Philip Bundick back up into that fifth position. Wesley Wickens, the leader there, who came down pit road. He took fuel only on that stop. Michael Hilliard in the number 61 now. He is making his way up there as Robert is now on pit road, that number 22. He will be dropping back. A lot of drivers chose to come down pit road this time by.
Yes, and this will put them very very close in terms of fuel. They definitely won't make it from the fuel mileage that we've been seeing here tonight. They'll have to come in for essentially a splash and dash, and then they'll probably be coming in at latest with around 5 laps to go in this event. So it's cutting it very close. Some of these guys, like Ed Kathan, for example, our in-race reporter, if he's going to stretch the fuel, he might want to try and stretch the fuel mileage even just the slightest bit to get that extra lap in. So if he can make it to, say, around close enough to lap 70, he'd be golden for the rest of the race. That would, of course, depend on the position he comes in, he finds himself in at the end of that pit stop cycle. However, that may not be too much of an issue if he's able to stretch the fuel mileage that long. We're not quite sure if he is, but if he is able to, and he's able to get out in front, even if he doesn't get out in front of Wesley Wickens, he would look pretty good because Wickens, we do believe, will have to come in for one more stop.
On our longest green flag run of the night, the last caution being on lap 36. We're just going on to lap number 67, where our leader Ed Kathan. Steve, you're messing me up now, but going on to lap 68, we're getting right down to the end. Nuts and bolts to the race. It's live or die. You're gonna run out of gas. You're gonna pit right. You just gotta make sure not to speed. You speed, you're gonna go a lap down. No lucky dog. It's going to be the end of your race, essentially.
Yes, we're coming up to what me and my team like to define as the money stop. This is the last pit stop of the race. This is the pit stop that we've all worked for. This is the pit stop you have to put your absolute best into, or else you might have cost yourself a chance at the win. And of course, you're going to need to pit on the right lap. In the case of Ed Kathan, I believe at this stage, we're going to have 12 laps to go when he comes to the start-finish line. And now he makes the dive onto pit road. Ed Kathan is in. Now we'll see if this actually pays off. And another car also coming on the pit road with him. And Leandro Matos, the Brazilian, leaves pit road. He was running second at the time. He's back out onto the track as Kathan comes into his pit stall.
Kathan, I do believe he is still scored as the leader. He had such a large lead, as now finally Wesley Wickens finally gets around him, just as Ed Kathan comes out of pit road. It looks like Ed might be in a really good spot. If he can hold it on, save enough gas to get to that checkered flag, I believe he may be in the best position.
Yes, and Michael Hilliard moves into second. He just eked out in front of Ed Kathan as Kathan was coming off of pit road. But as you said, it's Wesley Wickens out to the front of the pack once again. The Excite Racing League Dallara. But of course, we're a little bit shaky about where he stands on fuel. We do believe he has to come in yet again. So I'm afraid Wesley Wickens, he might be on the short end of the stick when it comes to fuel strategy, with Ed Kathan now 6 seconds in arrears. In second place is the 61 main performance PC entry of Michael Hilliard, comes on the pit road for his final stop. I believe that Kathan has the best strategy going in terms of fuel, and it looks like it's about to pay off.
Yes, I do believe that is accurate. Ed Kathan pit on the same lap as Michael Hilliard, so I do believe that he will have to make at least one more stop. Maybe not full fuel, maybe half, but as you're saying, I believe Ed Kathan is the man to beat right now. He's in the throne, so to speak. It's his race to lose.
And it will be pretty soon when we find out that if he can indeed claim that throne. The Bali Activity number 884, Ed Kathan. He currently sits in second place, 7 seconds behind the leader, the number 51 of Wesley Wickens. However, as we come to the start of lap number 72 out of 80 here at the Tricky Triangle, we might well see that change pretty soon. As Wickens, we do assume we'll have to come in for a top off and for a splash and go on fuel that will unfortunately ultimately cost him the win here tonight. So it's Wickens out in front, Ed Kathan sitting in second place, though we do believe that Ed Kathan will be the heir apparent to the lead of this race. It's Robert Oborda in the number 22 in third position in the main performance PC car. The 76 of Leandro Matos actually got passed by Joey Young for 4th place around the outside. Once again, Joey Young, despite the damage that we assume he has, he's still on the move again, and he's back up into 4th place. What a drive by the driver of the number 14 Marlboro entry.
As our leader comes down pit road.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Steve. Sorry for the little bit of confusion. Yeah, as you were talking, Steve, Wesley Wickens, our previous leader, has pit. So that means Ed Kathan is now our leader, and it's going to be close. It's going to be very interesting to see if he can make it or not.
Yeah, so Kathan once again assumes the lead. Like we said, he was looking good in terms of fuel strategy. However, he came in pretty close to the fuel window when you can come in for fuel and expect to make it to the end of that race. He cut it very close there. We believe he came in with about 12 laps to go in this race, and that's right on the edge in terms of fuel mileage. He's cutting it pretty close, but it may well have worked for him. It may well work for him here tonight.
As we're winding down to just about 6 laps to go, Ed Kathan is our leader, and behind him is the second place car, at least in the scoring board, was Robert Obrada, and it looks like he just got out of pit road.
Yes, he did.
Behind him in third, I do believe, according to the board, it's Joey Young in that 14 Marlboro entry, and he's being scored second now.
Of course, we haven't been keeping track of the fuel situation for that number 14 Marlboro Dallara of Joey Young, but what a comeback drive it has been for him tonight. He, of course, brushed the wall earlier on in this long green flag run. He had to come down the pit road twice in the matter of a few laps, and now he's back up into second place. We're not quite sure how he stands on fuel, but either way, with the suspension damage that we assume that he has on the right-hand side of that car, that is quite the effort, as now, just as I say it, the number 14 makes his way onto pit road on lap numbers at the end of lap 75.
Yeah, the number 14 is on pit road, which leads Ed Kathan. He's going to be half a second in front of the entire rest of the field. Wesley Wickens looks like he's going to take back that second spot, and he may still end up with this win. Ed Kathan, you know, he's pit at lap 69. They've been running about 10, 11, 12 laps all race per fuel run. It may be good. It may be bad. We're just gonna have to see.
Go ahead.
It's all in the will of Sunoco right now.
That's quite the way of putting it. It is all in the will of Sunoco. Of course, these cars run on E85 ethanol. They don't run on regular gasoline. They run on ethanol. 85% ethanol from corn and 15% gasoline. And that E85 has pushed Ed Kathan to the front, and how he's used it has kept him at the front. He now holds a 25.5 second lead over Wesley Wickens in the number 51. That's about half a lap here at Pocono, probably a bit more than that. So it's Kathan who leads by a considerable margin. Wesley Wickens moves back into second place. The 23 Ragu car of Philip Bundick sits in third place. The 61 of Michael Hilliard is closing in on him, though, for third position. The battle seems to be on for the final step on the podium. And the 22 of Robert Obata rounds out the top 5, and he's under pressure now for the number 12 of Peter Remberg. So while the battle up front may not be ending in a close manner, not like the Indianapolis 500 in real life was this year, we're getting a pretty good battle so far for the other positions so far in this race, most notably the battle for third.
Yeah, that is a great battle, but it may end up being a battle for second, or maybe the number 884 is just lost power in his engine. I wonder if he's saving fuel. Yeah, it looks like he's regained power. he's definitely saving. It's going to be very close. He's got half a lap. He may end up...
He's slowing down considerably. He's gone under 200 miles an hour. That's a very rare thing to see. He's got a big gap, though, so if he is trying to save fuel, he can definitely do it. The white flag flies. Lap number 80, and Ed Kathan holds the lead, but will he keep it? Does he have enough fuel to make it to the end, or is he kind of teasing the other drivers, or is he actually just saving? We don't. It could well be that close in terms of fuel.
Well, you have to know right now, you have to know that Ed Kathan there in that 8084, he is very close on fuel. Actually, I'm looking at what I can see right now, and he is right on the edge. If he kept in it for another half of lap, he would be out here. I don't even know if he'll be able to get to the front stretch, and he might actually be out as he's, yep, pretty sure he is out here coming off of the corner. He's got plenty of time behind him. Don't worry, he will coast across the start-finish line. He will get the win here for the Triple Crown IndyCar Series, coming across the line with no fuel. What a pit strategy call there. That has to be the call of the year, guys, right there for Ed Kathan to come away with that victory. That's incredible.
It was getting intense. I was really concerned. I mean, at first, a few laps before that, he wasn't saving, and I thought he may have thought that he had enough. And then just as soon as I was about to say that, he pushed in the clutch and turned off that engine, and he was making me nervous, man. Our in-race reporter, Mr. Kathan there, he comes away with this victory, but it was only by the fumes in his tank. It was that much.
That was quite a finish. Ed Kathan comes across with no fuel in the tank. And not only that, the 22 of Robert Obora came across the line in the wall. He was dragging the car across the wall there. I believe he was trying really hard to put the pressure on the number 12 of Peter Remberg. They were battling for 5th at the end of this race, and Obora just came across the line with the right side of that car brushing the wall. But it's Ed Kathan, just by running on fumes, brings the number 884 into victory lane here at Pocono. Wesley Wickens will come home 2nd, Michael Hilliard 3rd, Philip Bundick 5th, and Peter Ramberg round out the top 5 here tonight.
Yeah, followed by that is the number 22 of Robert Obratha, and in 6th, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. 7th is Leandro Matos, and then Thomas Engel was the last entry on the lead lap. Followed one lap down was Wallace Green and Joey Young, who, although was making a fantastic effort, had a little bit of bad luck, a few incidents early in the race. Looks like he may have came away with a top 5 finish, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Yep, was not going to end up playing out here, and you know, it's the first race of the season, and these are very short seasons, so every race is going to count just as much as the next there. Just outside that top 10, Jason Ferries there, Bill Perez, Michael Shore 6 laps down, Mike Miller, not exactly sure where he finished. He is not on the scoring boards. It shows him in 14th. Vern Wygant there in 15th, having a very interesting start to his race here at Pocono. He ended up in the wall multiple times. We had a very hard incident involving him, and now with it being post-race, we're going to take a quick moment, just a hot second, to catch up to the top 3 on pit road. Do not go away. Checkered Flag Interactive will be right back for our post-race show here at Pocono Raceway. We are back here on Checkered Flag Interactive, post-race time for the Triple Crown IndyCar Series race number 1 here at Pocono. An exciting event here today for sure. We went in with, you just never know what you're going to get when you've got these DW12s out on the racetrack. They are always full of excitement, and this race did not disappoint on any standpoint. We have our winner and our in-race reporter, Ed Kathan, up in the booth, the driver who was saving incredibly there at the end of the run. Congratulations on the win, and how did it feel there coasting across the line there?
You know how you rock yourself in your car forward and back trying to make it go faster?
That was pretty incredible. That was so close. Like, we all knew, and I was looking at your mileage specifically. I can view all the data from your car here, and I was looking at it myself, and I saw where your fuel level was sitting coming into turn 1, and I was like, I couldn't believe you made it that entire last lap. There's no way I would have been able to do that. That was amazing.
Could you see me clutching it at all?
Oh yeah, you were clutching it for that almost the entire half of a lap before the white flag.
10-4, that was fun. I thought for sure I'd have to beat Wesley.
So there you came across with the win here for the first race of this season. What does this set you up for in the Triple Crown IndyCar Series going up into the future races?
Gives me a lot of confidence.
Definitely does.
I know what I'm doing.
When you can come out here and you can come and make a win, and you didn't do it easily, that is just incredible for you to be able to come out here, set the standard to start the season off with the first season getting kicked off here. You've got that win. You've got the confidence now. Going into the rest of the races, what is your mindset here? Now, every single race, you're not going to know what that fuel level is going to be sitting at, so it's always going to be a little bit of, I guess you could call it, a shroud of mystery. How are you going to deal with that throughout the season?
Yeah, you just got to do a couple fuel runs, you know, and decide, especially like there, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't take tires a couple of times. Not sure if it helped or not, but it seemed to. And then at the end, when I calculated my final fuel stop, I made sure I had a fresh set. So you're always thinking, you know, every lap of the race, you're calculating fuel to make sure it's right.
Well, congratulations on the win here. And really quick, while we've got the chance, who do you have to thank for making this happen for you here today on Checkered Flag Interactive?
Well, my team owner and sponsor is Michael Shore. That's in Wallace. Both those guys helped me out quite a bit this week.
And he's up here in the booth right now, and I'm pretty sure as a league administrator and a teammate and all of that, he's probably pretty proud of this first race here. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
Yeah, very happy with the way how it went. You know, the whole idea was this was giving the guys that are sort of not up in the high divisions a chance to sort of race and compete and on a stage where it's all fair, you know what I mean? And as you can see throughout the race, it was quite close, pretty much all the way through from 1st to 16th, I guess, you know what I mean? And the level of the drivers were sort of around the same, so that makes for good racing, and that what it was all about.
Well, it left nothing on the table here at Pocono. Pocono is one of the tougher tracks for sure to race at when it comes to these Indy cars. There's just so many things that can go wrong, and when it goes so smooth, you definitely know that something definitely went right along the lines.
Yeah, it definitely did went smooth. I was not for me, but I was pitting the fuel. I was in 4th spot, pitting in to get some fuel, and my tablet didn't work and I drove past my pit booth and had to go around again. So, but yeah, the race went really smooth. The guys seemed like they enjoyed it, and bring on Kentucky.
Now, really quick, while we have a chance here, you're live here on Checkered Flag Interactive. Tell the guys that are watching at home and that will watch this up on YouTube. They might not be able to tune in and show up for this first season here, but this is not the only season in the upcoming months that you guys will be running. Tell the guys at home a little bit about this series.
Yeah, well, yeah, what it is, it's a Triple Crown, which is a 3-race series. So each season will go over three races, which is 1 race per month. Yeah, there's prize money and also trophies to the winners. And so all up, we'll be having about 4 seasons a year, and just racing once a month. There'll be practice every week between races. We'll sort of set up a server for that, and yeah, we just wanted to be a good, fun, competitive league.
And it definitely seemed like a lot of fun, and I'm sure the drivers out there appreciate all the hard work. I know you came into the race a little bit nervous here, getting things set up, but congratulations on the first race definitely being very successful.
Not a problem. I'd like to thank you guys as well, Checkered Flag Interactive, for coming on board and broadcasting the race. I hope you continue that in the future, and we have a good relationship there. And it's good to also, our field was a little bit short today, but we have about 40 guys that were sort of pretty keen to jump into the league. So we'll hopefully get more for Kentucky.
Alright, good stuff. Again, congratulations on the great race here at Pocono.
Thank you very much, guys.
And now we have a quick second here. We've pulled Wesley up into the booth. Do you have a copy? Alright, it does not look like his mic is active, so unfortunately we will not get a chance to talk to him here. However, it was a very great race here on CFI here tonight. A very big race for these guys, getting things kicked off here for this season. A Pocono Raceway is one of those tracks you just never know what you're going to get yourself into, and it's really a very bold racetrack to get this series kicked off at. So these guys pulled off a great race here, and all the fans at home definitely have to had a great time watching. So here for Checkered Flag Interactive, for Dalton Alexander, Stephen Larkamp, and Steve Bonesteel, and everybody at CFI, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time.